Hello and welcome. I'm Shellen Briand and I have Peter Bittner with the Upgrade here today. And we are going to take a little bit of a different approach than we have been doing these weekly developer showcases. And Peter, I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me on, Shalon.
Of course. And the reason we wanted to take a bit of a pivot this week was because of a really strong demand that is bubbling up in every direction. And the showcases and all of the individuals who are going through the Mind Studio AI certifications and seeing the demands from kind of all across the market, from very small businesses into huge enterprises. We wanted to share this, and it's going to have a Mind Studio focus, but so much of what we'll talk about is really will work in many ways and in different vehicles. But I know, Peter, you've had a chance to be very involved with the agency side and have implemented an actually agency specific training that's starting on Saturday. So we can walk through that a bit here. I'm going to bring up some slides.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it's been really exciting to watch what's happening in the market. And I know that if you are not familiar with me, again, my name's Shellen Briand, and I work for Westpac Wealth Partners, and we focus on helping CPAs increase their revenue and create a lot more free time. And I got interested in Mind Studio initially out of curiosity. I have been friends with the founder, one of the founders, for decades, and was really fascinated with AI in general. But when I saw how it impacted my own personal workflow, and it's just so incredible. It's just been something exciting and happy to share. And then, Peter, why don't you just give just a brief background on you and what interests you in AI in general, and then Mind Studio, and then we will get started.
Sure thing. So, my background has been as a lecturer at UC Berkeley in new media for the past 7 years. In particular, I started the upgrade to bridge the digital skills gap related to AI that we are all really experiencing. There's so many tools out there, there's so many new possibilities, and it can feel overwhelming. I teach a number of different classes. I've had an online academy that I started, and I discovered Mind Studio, early last fall and introduced it to a number of my students. And, I was blown away. My students were too. We all wanted to learn as much as we could and, really develop, strong skill sets using Mind Studio because it's so versatile, it's so powerful. And I ended up reaching out to Dimitri as well, the CEO and co-founder of Mind Studio. And we ended up partnering for the last 6 months. We've been working very closely together, the Upgrade and Mind Studio, to develop the official certification program, as well as a series of classes and other educational services to really help people get up to speed with all of these really powerful tools. And Mind Studio is great. It's something I just got off a office hours call with some of our current students, and they're saying, it's kind of like learning the guitar. You have a few chords, you can do some really amazing stuff and have fun with it, but you learn a few more or some scales, and suddenly, you really open up a whole new dimension. And I think, that's absolutely the case with Mind Studio, right? It's easy out of the gate. It's no code required, right? But it's something that the more you dig into it, the more you realize the possibilities and can do some really amazing things. So anyway, I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to digging in. We have so many agency folks who are enrolling in our courses and who are, reaching out to us, and we're helping to train up and get people ready to go out as implementation partners, and help solve real business challenges with Mind Studio.
Yeah, perfect. And I would say feel free to pop any questions in the comments or if you prefer, just feel free to reach out to either one of us and we will answer or get you to the right people. So a lot of this we just wanted to share, and the opportunities are so exciting, and I feel like we've sort of been, Peter, I know you and I have been living and breathing this a bit for months, but it is really so early in the process and the opportunities are vast. And I don't think people will be surprised at this, but there is a really deep Gartner study that was saying that the vast majority of finance leaders are projecting much higher AI budgets, and none of the individuals that were surveyed said that they were doing any reductions. And so we're finding with individuals that are working on projects or who are working on AI agencies or freelancers, that people are tapping into budgets that aren't necessarily AI tech budgets, but they might be sales or marketing budgets. They may be, just a variety of budgets. So there is, I think, just a tremendous amount of opportunity that's out there. And along the same way that AI leaders in every organization of a Forrester study were also very clear that generative AI, and that's what we'll focus on here, is so important to their business strategies. So not just something that's being tinkered with, but really key to their strategies. And what would you say, Peter, would be maybe a couple things that you've heard from individuals that are starting to work on these consulting projects? What are they coming back to the group calls and some of the discussions in Discord? What are people saying that leaders are saying to them?
Right. So, again, I just hopped off a call earlier this morning with some of our current students who are already launching AI consultancies and agencies using Mind Studio. And they're saying, the number of use cases and the demand from their clients for these automations is just off the charts. Like they, have to keep writing lists and, internal backlogs and to keep everything documented to get through, because, these possibilities are really profound. Mind Studio is something that enables AI-powered digital transformation in a way that was not possible even a year ago, right? And so it's really exciting to have all of this, demand that our students in the Mind Studio Academy and users and certified developers are experiencing. And so our job here as the upgrade, partnering with Mind Studio for Education, is to really make sure people have a strong foundation and have best practices and state of the art knowledge to use these tools to solve real business challenges. And yeah, it's exciting. We're hearing back from our students every week and every day, really, in Discord about the ways in which they're using these tools, and a huge range of use cases, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll touch on a couple more of those. And one of the things that's so powerful about Mind Studio is the ability to just rapidly build custom AI solutions without a tech background. So my background is not in technology. Peter, you definitely have a much deeper, background and experience there, but it's amazing what anyone can create. And it just doesn't take very long to get good at it. And I think the other element is a lot of people are starting to dive into a particular solution, or they might be using Jasper or, ChatGPT, or there's so many different places, but they're having to just figure out which ones and logging in and out. And with Mind Studio, you can really create a solution that mixes and matches the different models that you might want to be using. And I thought that was stunning to see what could be created. And just that element alone just took everything to such a higher level.
Sure. Yeah. Another thing that I'll add that is so powerful is, the ability to use RAG, right? Retrieval augmented generation techniques. Like what does that mean? If you're new to this, it means that you can, upload your own proprietary documentation or data sets as a data source and have that used as a reference by any of these AI models to generate a much better output, right? And even cooler, you can also now, with API access. What is that? It allows you to plug in Mind Studio AIs to any other third-party software. So, no longer do you need to really worry about, the prompting yourself. If you want, you can invest in that and create, an application or automation that enables your team members, to save time learning prompting and just put in, the inputs and spit out the outputs directly into, their CRM, their CMS, et cetera, and potentially integrating with all of that live data too. And so it's mind blowing, some of the different ways you can create these, and you can have multiple AI models in the same workflow, in the same automation, doing what they do best, right? So, Code Llama, for example, for certain tasks, and then maybe you want to switch over, to something that's more analytics, suited, something like, a Claude 3 or GPT-4, et cetera. But, the versatility is unparalleled with Mind Studio.
Yeah, I think one of the elements for me is all of this has been just so astounding of what you could do from the first time I used ChatGPT. But as an owner, business owner, and leader, you want to be so careful about your company's brand and reputation, and the data that you're using. There's a lot of really important things to consider, and there's this huge pressure to get going. And so I really appreciate the ability to customize things in a way that still has really well thought out guardrails. And I think that's one of the areas that the agency opportunity is so important, is companies are desperate to get going, but there's a lot of fear and there's a lack of knowledge. So I think that is something that's really interesting to watch. And organizations are really allocating a lot of budget, from small companies to governments, and seeing these projects and thinking through becoming an agency partner to help them design and implement and just get things started. And you can do that in such a controlled way. You don't have to have these just massive IT budgets and projects that hit an entire company. You can really do some controlled tests and pilots that are really very fascinating.
Right. So there's, organizations of all sizes using Mind Studio that, ranging from small businesses, solopreneurs, to massive, enterprise organizations.
Yeah, yeah. And it's actually just, I have to say, it's been so much fun to showcase some of the projects that we've been doing weekly, and just the thinking that's gone around, and these massive projects and things that people have spent, weeks and weeks on, in some cases, being able to take that and create something that can turn that around so quickly and allow them to take their genius and experience and really use it in such a higher level way. But I think this, there is a really urgent need. And frankly, I don't know about you, Peter, but as I watch things and just see the projects that are happening and use them myself, I realize that I think sometimes there's been that quote that's gone around that AI might not take your job, but somebody who's using AI will. But I think it's a much bigger situation than that. I think AI is going to eliminate a lot of jobs that are not adding value in a really human way, and create a lot of opportunity that for things that we may not be thinking about today. I think having that idea of going to college now and really studying the arts and getting into literature, and some of the things that people were steered away from for the past couple of decades, now those conversations are coming back up, that like what makes us human and unique is not something that AI is going to be able to duplicate the same way.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think we're seeing people's time freed up through some of these AI automations already to do things that are more strategically important, or to your point, right, that has more of a human touch, And so it's interesting to think about it. An example that comes to mind is, a student who told me earlier this week that he's working with, a large furniture retailer and wholesaler to put together a series of automations to basically automatically update their pricing structure and vendors, so that we don't have to have a person whose job it is to just do that manual data entry. That person will not lose their job necessarily. They'll be freed up to do more interesting things and improve the organization, and the way that the marketing and other functions of the business work. And so this is a massive moment for enterprise AI, and I say enterprise sort of broadly, like any size of organization. But I think that these AI agencies are really the spearheading this, and especially with Mind Studio, they're coming and bringing ideas for innovation, for rejuvenation, and a lot of change is coming for sure. But I think it's really exciting, and I think it's going to reinvigorate and create entirely new industries and markets and job roles. I think job responsibilities will be constantly shuffling and being reorganized now, and I think it's an exciting thing.
Yeah, and I think organizations that there are a few, we won't name, but they made, big decisions to eliminate staff and replace with AI tools. And what many of them are starting to find is that people can see that, that the ability to have relationships and have content that's out there and solutions and conversations with customers, just they can't be replaced in that way. And so finding that medium. But one of the reasons that I have found Mind Studio to be so intriguing in terms of a platform to lean into for an agency, either to start a business, expand a current agency that may be offering other things, or to build an internal one, is because already there have been over 37,000 AI applications have been built. It's been word of mouth. More than 80% of all of the business is just coming in organically. There isn't a sales team in place, and the company's already raised, more than $36,000. So
$1 million, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, $36 million. Yes. So it's just really the team is so experienced, decades of experience, have built and sold other organizations. So in terms of a trusted foundation, it's there. But let's dive in a little bit more into the just the high potential for revenue. I think that's something that's really exciting to see, and why people are just kind of really starting to realize that this is there's a lot of open opportunity, and it is absolutely expected that the demand will outpace supply of AI services and agencies for many years to come.
Right. Yeah. Again, love to weave in some stories from our students, right, in the Mind Studio Academy. And already people are charging, $5,000 just to plan out some of these automations and workflows using Mind Studio for clients, right? And so this market is exploding. There's so much demand that it's hard to even accommodate, and so prioritization is key. But these skill sets are going to be absolutely fundamental to new positions within organizations, as well as these agencies that are going to many ways be more nimble, more agile, and offer this really sort of critical knowledge and technical skills. I say technical, but it's really it's something that is going to be fairly straightforward in terms of some of these implementations, but it's the process of advising and consulting and thinking through the best ways to actually leverage the tools within Mind Studio for those solutions.
Yeah, and I think one of the elements that's so exciting is that as some of things shift around a bit, there's the very real opportunity to start and grow businesses, to do side hustles, to build and sell, because of the tools and the ability to not have to hire out a team, that you can, as a solopreneur or a small business, or scale that up, you can really do that in such a fascinating way. So I do think there's just so many fun opportunities. And this is where, Peter, I think we can dive into a couple more examples, but right away, there's just two approaches that you can take as an AI freelancer, build an agency around this, or do it internally, is to automate business processes and to really figure out processes that can be fully automated, and that we don't necessarily need humans in the repetitive tasks that are lower value in terms of relationships, client interaction, that expertise. And then the second place, things that can't be fully automated, is augmenting that human worker experience, that you can build custom AIs that can make employees just so much more efficient and allow them to focus on the tasks that really require that human involvement, and that there's benefit there. And for me, I would say on a personal level, this has been the most rewarding part of this, is many hours of work each week that I had to do for years and years and years are just gone. And I have the freedom to go now through those wish list type of projects and things that are so much more interesting, that I always wanted more time for. It really has created that. So I'm wondering if you could maybe touch on a couple of these areas of maybe a couple of the ideas and AIs that students have built, and those that have started agencies are focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a humongous range, right, of types of processes that are being enabled through automation to be up leveled. There's financial forecasting and modeling and reporting, right? There's, of course, content strategy and analytics, editorial automations. There's all sorts of, if you can imagine it, it's probably a Mind Studio AI that someone has built already at this point. And there's a great variety of templates when you go in to create your first AI to get started, right? And they also have some great tools to actually be able to have AI help you write some of these system prompts and get started, right, without having to really even necessarily write out the underlying instructions for the AI assistant itself. So there's so many ways in which it's really easy to get started, and encourage people to maybe think about ways in which in their everyday life, in their job, they just sort of pay attention to and maybe write a list of things they're spending their time on, right? And hopefully, identifying some areas in which, you could be cutting down on some of those tasks that aren't necessarily, adding the most value. Maybe they're time suck. Maybe it's, something that's, to your point, repetitive. And, those are the things that are sort of the low hanging fruit to begin figuring out how to, enhance through automations and free up your time, right? Free up your organizational time and hours too, right? And then after that, generally seeing that augmentation happen, sometimes in parallel, it just depends. But having the ability to have, for example, a customized, strategy assistant for marketing campaigns that takes the exact data from your organization's marketing sends and advises you on how to experiment methodically to do that. There's just so many different ways to use AI for strategic enhancements at work, and these are two good sort of divisions that we're seeing, certainly within the Mind Studio Academy and in our courses.
I think one of the ideas that early on captured my attention is, years ago, I had interviewed with PetSmart when they were just getting started and they had the veterinary practice. And I came from an employee benefits, human insurance experience. And I was very attracted to the idea that I could bring my dog to
Love
work,
that.
but I didn't know the industry, right? And I didn't know a lot about the company and the way that they were building out their managed care at that time. And the amount of time and money that I spent doing due diligence, and I bought a report. It just took hours and hours and hours. And with AI, you can do that for any customer, any interview. You can, with really a touch of a button, once you set it up the way you want it, it could be, veterinary services, it could be skydiving schools,
Right.
it could be whatever. And you can get this beautiful report exactly how you want it and use it and just do that over and over. And I think part of the opportunity with the AI agency is Mind Studio allows you to build something. And if you work within a niche, you can redo that. So you build it, you can build this type of business out. And it's not proprietary, content for an organization. But if you're working with dental practices, let's say, and you build something out that works in that niche, you can just redo that for someone else. And the profit out of that and the opportunity to really build a meaningful income and business is very,
Yeah,
very realistic.
absolutely. No, it's every industry, and we're seeing the combination of this sort of niche industry specific knowledge and domain expertise really combined with these new AI, powerful tools like Mind Studio that really results in some just unbelievable automations that are going to allow for industry transformation and creation of new jobs already because things, are going to be freed up. I think, yeah, there's already a lot of really great examples of students whose, projects that they've been working on through their certification process building real AIs to solve business problems for their own organizations or clients, and you know, there's nearly every field represented.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And I think, here's another example from my background is all with sales leadership and sales teams, and the amount of time spent on and due diligence and customizing things and proposals, just so much time. And as a leader, that was, I think, the biggest complaint was, sometimes quotas, but outside of that was the amount of time required to just do the administrative things. And so being able to automate the sales process, and there is several trainings, and we'll give the link that you can reference and see more at how this is built out. But you can take something that used to be a client intake form that had to be filled out, then somebody was adding that into CRM, having to draft sales materials or have a whole separate proposal department. A lot of that can be really automated in terms of inputting data, drafting collateral, drafting emails, using Mind Studio. Hours of work being done. It may not be perfect, but it allows your sales team to bring their relationship skills, their influence, that customize their expertise and bring that in instead of having to do so much of that background work. So that was something that I just wished when I saw some of the things. And again, we'll share the link to Mind Studio so that you can go see some of these yourselves. They're short and sweet, but I just couldn't help wanting to go back 15 years and redo part of my sales career of just how much more fun it would have been to just have that so many more hours each week.
Right. No, absolutely. This is a great example. There's some good tutorials from the Mind Studio team on YouTube. They have a phenomenal channel with, nearly every day a new video that comes out, which covers a new use case or a new feature. Their team is moving so fast, and it's exciting to see, the momentum they have and the inertia that continues to build in all of these. But Luis and their team has, a great video specifically on, using Mind Studio to automate this exact process. So just flagging that for those viewing, we can find that and pop it in the comments here too for your future reference. But yeah, this is a great example.
Yeah, and I did just pop up a QR code that will take you to Mind Studio, and you could easily see, excuse me, these elements. And it's also in a link in LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Excuse me. I'll let you take this.
Sure thing. Yeah. So in terms of next steps, I already kind of alluded to it. There's a ton of free resources. You can go to uai.ai/learn. And cool, great to see someone scan the QR code there. There's fantastic YouTube tutorials. You can just type in Mind Studio in YouTube and you'll find 100 videos or so. It's amazing how many great tutorials their team has. There's also generally every week 1 or 2 live trainings, webinars on Zoom that their team leads directly. Those are all fantastic ways to get plugged in and get your feet wet, so to speak, with Mind Studio. If you're interested in really developing strong expertise and certification, if you're someone who's interested in or creating your own AI agency currently, we strongly encourage you to become certified, and that will help show off your credentials and also ensure that you really have a full understanding of the robust tool sets that Mind Studio offers. So I mentioned this earlier, and this is a project that the Upgrade and my team are working in partnership with Mind Studio to build, called the Mind Studio Academy, right? And so this is ongoing live trainings every other weekend on Saturdays. Currently, we have 3 different courses that are tailored to 3 different levels of Mind Studio mastery, right? They're each 3 hours. And if you purchase a bundle of them together, you actually get access to retake them and to get access to continued recordings, as well as live office hours, as well as proprietary Discord channel for our current students with support from the Upgrade and Mind Studio team. And if you're interested in using those free resources to study on your own, you can soon, starting next week, take the exams directly, right, without taking the course. And so you can get certified at these different levels. This is a new model we're moving towards, right, where you'll be able to show off, the skill set that you're at. In some cases, you may only need or want, a level 1 or level 2 certification. If you're working with enterprises and building agencies, you probably do want, the full level 3 certification that's focused on a lot of these third-party, integrations, business consulting, tips and strategies using Mind Studio. But maybe I'll screen share real quick and just show you really briefly here in our last few minutes what the Academy looks like. I saw you shared the link there too, which is great.
Yes, and I changed the QR code, so that QR code in the upper left-hand corner will also take you directly to the Academy.
Awesome. So yeah, here is the homepage for the Mind Studio Academy. You'll see here that we have, a variety of upcoming courses on our calendar here that you can check out and plan in advance, right? We have scheduled out through September these different, 3 levels of courses, and you can easily find the course calendar in the upper right with this black button. We have the description of what these different levels of courses are going to be covering here, as well as where you can find out more about taking the Mind Studio developer exams. And so that's going to be updated very soon as we shift to our new model of having this multi-tiered process for certification. But you can find all the information here. You can also find a time to talk with me and my team if you want, directly through the website. Happy to chat with you about your priorities, your goals, your needs, and see if this is right for you. And you can also check out all of the schedule here. You'll see that we're trying our best to accommodate for all these different time zones that are now being represented in our cohorts, right? And so some weekends on Saturdays we have a level 1, 2, 3 you know in sequence. In other weekends, just flagging this, we'll start kind of in reverse so that those who are in the UK, for example, or APAC, will be able to actually attend that level 3 when it's not midnight or later in some cases. So, and again, with the bundle here, if you commit to basically going through all of these different courses and certification levels, you not only get a 40% discount, but you can retake these individual courses over a 60-day period as many times as you want, right? As well as get all those recordings and again, the proprietary, exclusive Discord support and weekly live office hours. So anyway, that's the in a nutshell summary, but feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my personal, email here in the LinkedIn chat as well.
Perfect. Yes. And I think right now, one of the things that's so fun about the training is that sort of the leadership of Mind Studio is engaged personally, which won't always be the case. The company's growing so rapidly, but it is such a great opportunity to just learn. And one of the things that I appreciated was right now having this kind of knowledge, even if it isn't something that you want to build a business around, just from a job security, career security, being somebody that is investing in AI and being able to think through how can you participate that within an organization that you work for within your company is really smart. And it's been fun to see the various cohorts and just such a variety of people that are involved.
Yeah, we've had people come from, VP level at Salesforce, from, manager level at NASA, from, small individual solopreneurs who are already, just blazing out of the gates, getting started with real client projects, before they even come to class. And so it's exciting to see that, and we're getting great feedback. This new model with these 3 different levels is in direct response to our students' feedback. And so we're continuing to iterate and improve our programming as the Mind Studio suite of tools continues to evolve. We are committed to making sure that all of our alumni as well have access to the latest features and understand all of their potential. So, you're joining a community of learners and developers, so to speak, right? We use that term developers, but it's really no code. So, there might be a better word for it out there, but of builders, really, Mind Studio builders.
Yeah. Well, I love being able to call myself a developer now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Peter, thanks so much for joining me. And we are going to be doing these weekly we'll go back into the developer showcase. So you can certainly join us to see what people are making and creating and get inspired for projects you might want to take on yourselves. So we appreciate your time and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Peter.